Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we will be looking at The Cry of the Children by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. First of all, holy moly, the original poem is 13 stanzas long. God, that's insane. In my book, Songs of Ourselves, the poem only has 3 stanzas. And most, if not all, of the people coming here are AS students who have the same copy of the poem, so I'll be analyzing the 3 stanzas my book has. If you are unfortunate enough to have to analyze all the stanzas and still need help after watching the complete video, let me know. I'll go through the rest of the poem whenever I get the time and try to help you out. This analysis is divided into 2 parts. In this video, I'll be analyzing the title, the epitaph, and the first stanza. The next video will cater the analysis of the next 2 stanzas and some observations. Starting off with the analysis, The Cry of the Children. This is a very chilling title. You know something bad is going to happen to the innocent. The title reminded me of a movie called Changeling. If you haven't watched it, I urge you to watch it whenever you can. It's a deeply distressing true story about a mother whose child goes missing. Anyway, as I said, the title is very chilling and it's also very simple, so it will remain in the minds of the readers long after they finish reading the poem, haunting them, reminding them of the cruelties faced by children. Moving on to the epitaph, which we all know I for sure can't read, it translates to, "Alas, alas, why do you gaze at me with your eyes, my children?" Medea. As you all know, I'm no teacher, so I didn't know what to make out of this. I did some research and found out Lit Charts has analyzed this line, thank God. For our ease, I've included their analysis. The epitaph to The Cry of the Children comes from Euripides' Greek tragedy Medea, which is about a woman who murders her children. I've linked the summary in the description in case anyone wants to look at it, but it didn't really seem to help me with my understanding of the epitaph. Perhaps reading the entire play might, but beware, it's weird as heck. Carrying on. This shocking invocation of infanticide is the poem's first indictment of its readers, implicitly suggesting that the English people who let child labor take place are in essence responsible for the death of the nation's children. Quick note, this critic has specified English people, and that may surely have been the intention of the poetess, but we can use this idea for other nations as well that have not yet completely succeeded in eradicating child labor. Moving on, the specific line quoted, "Why do you gaze at me with your eyes, my children?" introduces a central theme of the poem, children's own perspectives on their exploitation and harm. Now let's take a moment to think, when is the verb gaze used? It's used to show someone is staring at someone or something in a certain manner, and this manner is not negative, or not very negative. You wouldn't find someone gazing at someone or something they are threatened by. So, when the children gaze at Medea, it's not out of fear. If a child doesn't stare at its mother with fear, what does it gaze her with then? Admiration, possibly? Love, wonder, hope, the list goes on. But I'm certain the children don't gaze the mother with fear. This makes the entire scene sinister since there is an element of trust from the children's side, meaning they did not expect this to happen. Perhaps they were too naive to understand things, or too blinded by their trust and love towards their mother to see her insanity. Coming to the analysis of the poem, "Do you hear the children weeping, O my brothers, ere the sorrow comes with years?" The poem commences with a question. Weeping is a suppressed form of crying. You want to get rid of built-up emotions but don't want to attract attention. So the children are aware of their helplessness. Crying out for help is useless. The persona only addresses brothers and not sisters, perhaps highlighting a patriarchal world she and these children live in. The children's sorrow is compared to that of an old person through the mention of years, reflecting upon the unnatural situation these children are forced into. They are leaning their young heads against their mothers, and that cannot stop their tears. That is the action of them attempting to draw comfort from their mothers. The mothers are also in a hopeless position here since they either don't want to give false hope to their children or that the children have stopped believing the false hopes they are given and will continue laboring till their deaths. The period at the end allows the knowledge of this misfortune to stay with the reader for longer, emphasizing on the desolate nature of things. The persona then creates a contrast to young animals living lives of beauty and luxury. The young lambs are bleating in the meadows, the young birds are chirping in the nest. Natural imagery is used here to convey the innocence of children, regardless of species, and the beauty of a childhood without pain. Unlike the lambs and birds that are bleating and chirping, the children are weeping. Not only are they conveying the opposite emotion, they are attempting to silence themselves instead of complaining about their suffering. Perhaps this is the reason we have a third person narrating their sufferings to us. The young fawns are playing with the shadows. This line seems particularly important because we are shown young fawns playing with the shadows. Shadows usually represent something negative due to their dark nature. So, while the fawns play with danger, the child laborers are trapped in the shadows of pain and poverty. Risk and danger are not enticing for them, the contrary actually. The young flowers are blowing towards the west. After talking about animals, the persona mentions flowers to show, regardless of one's place in the classification of organisms, they deserve a lively childhood. If the flowers are blowing towards the west, where are the children blowing towards? The south? Or are they not blowing at all, just rotting? Plus, west is symbolic of wisdom, so the children are pulled back from growing older and becoming wise. In each of these examples, the persona uses the adjective young to emphasize on the ages of these children, how the authorities are fighting against nature and will surely suffer for it. The dash at the end allows the images of the lambs, birds, fawns, and flowers to remain in your mind before the persona shatters this piece through the words, "But the young, young children, oh my brothers." The repetition of the adjective young and a pause before the repetition makes it seem like the persona is pleading, attempting to elicit an emotive response from the brothers. They are weeping bitterly. You may now see the tug-of-war in the hearts of the children. The emotions are so strong, so overwhelming, they cannot suppress them completely. All they can do is weep bitterly, but not wail or sob. They are weeping in the playtime of others. Playtime could not only be of the young animals, but also of the brothers, like rich factory owners gambling, inconsiderate of their employees. Persona emphasizes on the feeling of alienation these children would feel if they were put into their natural environments instead of the workplaces. They no longer know how to play. All they can do is follow directions and pity themselves, fearing their deaths in the toxic working conditions they bear. In the country of the free. Political frustrations are highlighted through this line, sarcasm dripping from the word free. Anyway, quick useless side note you probably don't care about. I was listening to Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House and I read this line during the line in the song that goes, "Get to know the feeling of liberation and release." Just a sad little coincidence. Okay, that's it for part 1 of the analysis. If it was informative, do hit like. It helps spread the video to more people. Check out part 2 for the next 2 analyses. See you there!